Okay, hello everyone. I think we're expecting a few more folks to join us, but I want to get started if that's okay with Keith, because we do have a number of you here. Ready to go? Keith, are you ready on your end?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Great, great. Big thank you to Keith for hosting us once again at a SUNY Purchase with Adobe. Thank you very much. And I'm Beth Gordon Klingner from PACE, and we want to welcome you to our fall mug meeting. And it's nice that we're starting to get to know one another, although I think we have a couple of new people joining us. So a special welcome to you. And we have a good collaborative agenda that a few of us have contributed to, but we're really a very open group. So we encourage everyone to chime in and feel free to suggest other topics as they strike you. And I guess with that, we'll get started. I think our first topic is an update about the SUNY ePortfolio Task Force. And Ellen, and I'm not sure if Ellen is with us, so I'll leave it up to you if you want to start with that or wait till she joins.
Yeah, I was hoping Ellen would be in by now, but I can say a few things. So I'm going to stop sharing the agenda for a minute and bring up the task force charge. SUNY has a system-wide group called the Faculty Access No, Faculty Advisory Committee on Teaching and Technology. It used to be the Faculty Access to Computing Technology Group, but they've broadened that out to be more than just technology, more than just how to get computers to faculty. So as part of this Fact 2 organization in SUNY, they've started doing annual or year-long task forces looking at specific issues of teaching and learning across the SUNY campuses. And so I see someone scrolling through the document here. This year, Fact 2 group is going to be has constituted a task force on e-portfolios to look at what's being done with e-portfolios across the SUNY campuses, and to make recommendations about how to promote e-portfolios, what kind of processes we should have in place, how to coordinate e-portfolio efforts across the 60 plus SUNY campuses. So the task force is just getting underway. We're going to be doing a variety of fact-finding activities this fall. We'll have an interim meeting in January, and then we'll be doing a more formal presentation to the SUNY Conference on Instruction and Technology in May, and make some formal recommendations. The approach we're taking is sort of a life cycle approach. Ideally, in New York State, we could perhaps coordinate a sort of a K through 20 or K through 20 plus approach to e-portfolios. And you're really promoting the use of e-portfolios throughout the K through 12 space, and have those feed into the kinds of e-portfolios we want to develop for teaching and learning at the campuses, and then ongoing professional development. So we've got 4 subgroups. Yeah, we are specifically charged not to recommend a specific platform, which is a little disappointing on my end, but anyway, we're breaking up into 4 groups to look at different aspects of this continuum. So one group is really looking at how K through 12 will be using e-portfolios, and the kinds of teacher training programs. Well, I mean, you can kind of read along on the charge here, but essentially how to promote the use of e-portfolios in the lower grades. Then there's going to be a set of us that are looking at that transition between K through 12 and Suny. There are a number of members on the group from Empire State, and of course Empire State has a big focus on prior learning assessment, and we want to have easy transition from K through 12 as well into Suny, so that's what that group will be looking at. I'm heading up the at Suny subgroup, which is really going to be looking at how e-portfolios are used and can be used on SUNY campuses. My focus, of course, is primarily on the teaching and learning aspects, how to promote reflective learning on the part of students, but we'll also be looking at assessment and career development issues. And then there, is the post-SUNY component of this life cycle. How to promote ongoing use of the e-portfolios for professional development and so forth. So that's in a nutshell what the task force has been charged with doing, and the way we're going about doing it. But again, we are really just started in the process. We've had an organizing meeting, and then we had a very nice Adobe Connect session just recently with someone who was involved in getting the Cal State e-portfolio project up and running. So that was very informative in, thinking real big picture. If we could get some of these statewide e-portfolio initiatives going and sustainable and productive, then really thinking about how to coordinate efforts across states would be the next logical step down the road. But that's a real big picture. So that's a little quick thumbnail as to what's going on with the task force. I don't know if there are any questions. I mean, we are working on getting a number of non-SUNY folks involved. Obviously, we want to get business representation on the task force, education, where is workplace in this? I mean, workplace issues is one of the aspects we're meant to look at. That's why we're trying to get business and other representatives on the task force. This is the fact is kind of on the same status as CPD. So Center of Professional Development also reports to the provost, as does the FACT Council and a number of other SUNY bodies. So, let's see. Hi, Ellen. I see you just joined us. I went through quickly a little bit about the charge. I don't know if you want to say some additional things about goals, what we're hoping to do.
I don't know because I didn't hear what you what you said, but I see that there was a question about recommending a platform. Did you address we can't recommend a platform?
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Yeah, so the goal is that we're going to issue enough information that an RFP will be issued from the Fact Council, and then they will begin looking for a platform. So that's the intention, and
Yeah,
it's a pretty big task that we are undertaking. So
yeah, I've mentioned to Ellen I'm a little concerned about the fact that this is going to result in an RFP coming out from the Fact Council, because I've got a real concern that the RFP process, especially as it's done in Suny, really promotes commercial products, and it's very difficult to get a fair evaluation of open source, self-hosted kind of options for things that we'll be looking at in the RFP.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that is a concern, and I don't know how much. Well, if we know it's being issued, whether or not we can put together a presentation to meet the RFP just from interested, from Mug or some interested Mahara users to write up a response to the RFP. I think it's probably possible and unprecedented, which might be kind of cool.
Yeah, Purchase could host Mahara for all the Suny campuses.
Well, maybe we can talk Suny systemness into recognizing the importance of open source for all of Suny, but who knows?
Yeah.
I think it will probably fold into the Open Suny initiative, to tell you the truth, because the Open Suny initiative has to do with portability across, part of it has to do with portability across all the systems, so that students can take courses at any of the 64 campuses and have those credits accepted at any of the 64 campuses. That's part of the systemness and the direction that the chancellor wants to go, kind of a unifying system. And I think that this is stemming from the systemness and the Open Suny initiatives as maybe one way of beginning that endeavor. So that's it.
Yeah. Actually, Ellen, that issue about Open Suny is probably something we should talk about, because I was at a meeting on campus here. We were talking about registration and banner issues and so forth, and I brought up, well, how will the push for greater transferability of courses across Suny impact some of the things we were talking about, and I got the feedback from on campus here that, oh, no, the website is just to make it easier for students to be able to see what would transfer, that there wouldn't necessarily be any push for Campus X's course in such and such field to be necessarily accepted as that comparable course at another Suny campus. So, how much do you think the Open Suny initiative is really going to push students actually taking specific course credits rather than general course credits across? That maybe is too much Suny discussion, but
yeah, and in the initial conversations there was a lot of pushback from faculty. So, we'll have to see how it eventually all plays out, but part of our charge includes looking at assessment of prior learning, which is a huge thing, and currently I think Empire State is about the only college in the system that's doing that. So whether the credits will transfer over as a prior learning assessment, recognition of prior learning, or what the provost is thinking about in those terms, he clearly stated that part of our charge And one major part of our charge is to look at prior learning assessment and bringing this into the whole ePortfolio initiative. I think that there's a lot of schools in the SUNY system that are looking at badging and alternate forms of assessment, and that this is also going to be part of this because, you know, we're just undertaking this in a year from now. A lot can change. So I think that this particular initiative has the potential to be different from any of the other ePortfolio initiatives, you know, done on a statewide basis previous to ours, because the focus is so broad and because it rolls in prior learning assessment and workforce compatibility. So I think that that's what will distinguish us from what has been done previously, which focused on internal assessment. So ours is kind of adding a second layer to that. And Don, I don't know, I haven't heard anything about ePolio Pennsylvania. We were in conversations with ePortfolio California. John Idelson was our guest presenter at our last meeting, and he also mentioned the initiative in Minnesota, but Pennsylvania's wasn't brought into the discussion, so I'm not even familiar with it. I do want to bring in someone from Australia to talk about their workforce initiatives, their workforce ePortfolio initiatives, because I think that will get us in the right direction. Oh, it's driven by the Department of Labor. Got any contact information over there, Don? I was hoping to get somebody from the Department of Labor on our committee. Okay, good. Thanks.
Keith and Ellen, I'm wondering because of the rest of our agenda, if we should perhaps
Yeah.
move on to let people, you know, certainly we'd love to still have the questions about this topic keep coming through the chat, and perhaps Keith and Ellen and others can keep responding. If that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, that sounds good with us.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we'll turn it over to Garrett, who had the good memory and kept good notes about some of the questions that came out of our last meeting at the ABLE conference. So if Garrett's connection is good, we'll turn it over to him.
Yeah. How am I? Okay? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Garrett, and it's absolutely miserable in New Haven today. So, but I'm going to try to counteract that with a boosting of a little bit of my mood. A couple parts in my portion of the presentation today that I want to talk about are posting footage from our recorded sessions, creating kind of like an archive for shared resources, the possibility of creating some academic papers, and looking at some other user groups. And I just have a couple thoughts about each portion, and I was thinking maybe we could just have a discussion or just type up a little bit after each bullet point. So the first point that I wanted to talk about that we spoke about in Boston, seems like so long ago, was about taking some of this recorded footage of meetings like this and perhaps some student showcases and kind of creating some reusable objects. And so I think we have so many goodies in here and so many good best practices that could be pulled out of our meetings, but it would just take some people, some workers to kind of look back and grab that material. And then that could be placed in an area where people can look back and kind of, use for reference material. I think, part of how I see MUG is kind of enhancing pedagogy. It's an environment that's inviting and informing, and, we could kind of pull out short video sections that just say, the Mahara user group discusses integration with badges, or the Mahara user group discusses problems with XYZ, or commonly overlooked features, so forth. So I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts on that, maybe the feasibility of it, and then maybe in the next bullet point we could talk about actually how to share it out and where might be a good spot for this. But how do you all kind of interpret the feasibility of a project like this?
So I added a notes field. Anyone can type if they want to, or you can type in the chat. Or everyone should have microphone capabilities as well if you want to do that.
I think I'll use my voice if that's okay, but I was wondering about us contributing to a repository that might exist somewhere, so that other people who aren't using Mahara might see the objects and think about Mahara. I wonder if that's a possibility.
So Ellen, maybe a repository, some of the learning object repositories like Merlot or something like that?
Yeah, some of the learning object repositories, or it was suggested to put it on Mahara.org. I don't know if they have, I know that they have a place where they post presentations, and I wonder if they could create a category for reusable learning objects. I don't know, it's just a thought that we might do something like that.
I think that's a good idea. The way that I see it is just kind of like a page full of thumbnail videos that just with different topics. Maybe on the Mahara.org website would be good for this. I'm not sure of the venue, but we just need some e-turns or someone who could just kind of look through the material that we've already created, which pat on the back is some great stuff, and cut through it and do some video editing, which I could say is just time consuming. That's all.
Yeah, the bottleneck will be finding the material, cutting it out. I mean, once it's available, we should put it everywhere we can think to put it. I mean, it's not just what's the best place, but what are all the places. So, Mahara.org is an obvious one, but if we can get it onto some of these other repositories, or somebody mentioned, a blog showcasing highlights, Facebook, our Facebook site. The trouble with a blog is we'd have to figure out how to drive the traffic to it. But yeah, once we've got the objects, we ought to try to post them as many different places as we can.
Yeah, I agree on that. And on Beth's point about deciding on the topics, I think that will help kind of give us some focus. So creating the topics and then kind of going out and seeking some content that we've already created, I think would be good. So maybe in Facebook we can talk about some topics that we might think others would like to see, and then we can have some folks go out and look for that material that we've created. And I agree, Keith, that putting it everywhere possible is good. Yeah. Okay, so maybe for the sake of time we should just move on to the next point, which is closely related to it. And we have these shared resources that have been posted in our Facebook page so far. For example, one that sticks out to me is the assessment toolkit. Some folks are sharing great links, other Word documents, and I just think it's excellent. I'm just wondering if there need to be other places, or perhaps a central location where all these resources can be housed. I'd hate to see things become so fragmented, and all over the place that there's not one good location to view all this. But I remember this kind of harkens back to our discussion about whether Facebook was a good place to have our discussions to begin with. And perhaps we're running into that problem now. If we're creating all of this good content, what's a good way to deliver it and share with others? So I guess that's just more things to talk about. As we create different types of material, where should it go? So any thoughts on that?
Oh, right, the Mahara Wiki as opposed to the Mahara org site. Does Able have a repository or set of a page of resources or something like that?
I think maybe the problem that we're having is a problem that every university is having, or anybody who wants to put content on the web is having. What's the best medium for the message?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in with the mic here too. I think this is a challenge for us. I mean, we have a MUG website at PACE, but it doesn't make sense to have this stored at any one school. And I guess my vote would be to kind of continue along the path that we've been heading, using a combo of Facebook and mahara.org/MaharaWiki, because I think that's how we will continue to sort of bump into and attract other MUG members. I think if we start getting to too many other tools, we'll be spread thin, and it will be hard to keep things updated. But if we can use Facebook for what Facebook is best at, getting the communications out, doing some of the brainstorming, for example, with Garrett's suggestion for the categories, but then actually archive the contents, the reusable objects in Mahara, the Mahara site someplace, then maybe that makes the most sense.
I think you're right. Yeah. Anybody else have other thoughts on this before we move to the next point? Yeah, it definitely is. Like Beth said, let's use it for what it's good at.
Yeah, we've had this conversation. It bothers a bunch of us, but it's been useful, so it's kind of a trade-off there. We're not sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm wondering how broad you want this to reach. How when you're talking about putting this information out there, is it something you want to be very public, or is it something closed that you then want to expose publicly?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially when it comes to audience and protections of rights and so forth. My original thought is, if we're going to enhance pedagogy, let's make it as open and available as possible. So definitely not closed off and privy to a few. That was my thought on this. But it's a good question because it's now giving me some focus about it too. Yeah, that's a good question, Beth. How would new folks like to find Mahara info? I mean, I think it would be great if someone just did a search, a Google search, let's say, people who use Mahara, thoughts on this, or something like that, and just kind of, I know that's probably on the wish list, but and just this page comes up where it has best strategies and testimonials and things like that, and sometimes it's just difficult to find that. And the last point that I'll talk about in a few minutes, it's about user groups seeking out other user groups, but I found that hard to find. So how easy is our information to find as well? The availability and accessibility of it, I guess, is what I'm concerned about. So definitely gives us something to think about. Yeah. Okay, maybe we'll take one more idea in the text in the chat area, and then we'll move on to the next point for the sake of time. So I see Christian is writing something here. Okay. Okay, well, maybe I'll move on to the point where we could just look over to the chat box and keep everything in mind there. Okay, vote for Facebook. Great. Okay, so the next point that I wanted to talk about, in case anyone else is interested, I certainly am, but maybe we could just get a network among some of us who are interested to produce some academic papers based on what we're doing. What I like is that about MUG is that we're kind of seizing control of the technology. we like Beth has said, we're able to direct it with what we're doing right now, with our requests and by our conversations and by our meetings. So that's what I like about that. But how can we now take the control that we have of this tool, or a degree of control, and produce some good out of it? So I'm interested personally in the development of ePortfolio at institutions. I know that's really broad, but kind of like user group collaboration and how it affects a wide range of academic institutions, and the leveling effect that a user group may have on education globally. So, I mean, these are kind of personal topics that I'm interested in, but perhaps we could just get some information on a page somewhere that says this person from the Mahara user group is interested in writing a paper about this topic that has to do with what we're doing. Some topics of interest that people may want to share, so that we could get something together. And again, I know this is kind of a personal thing because I like to write, but it's something that we may consider, for next year's ABLE meeting or whatever. Getting something published. I think we're doing something really grassroots and interesting, and we should do something with it, I think. But that's just my thought. What are your thoughts on it? So a lot of folks are already doing writing. That's good.
Okay, I would like to talk. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. So I'm just beginning with Mahara over at Pratt. They've had Mahara here for a little while, but it's in a sorry state, and we're going to be upgrading so that we're in the 1.5, and I'd like to assess the changes that start happening here, and then after a year be able to write a paper on what's happened. We're also going to connect it with our Moodle and create Mahoodle here starting this semester. So if you have ideas about questions for my assessment or topics, that would be really helpful, and then I could share those with you.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, we could just type type out, or maybe we can share in some area, maybe Facebook, just topics that we're interested in, things that we're doing, so that others can network a little better, like you said.
Well, that'd be great for me.
Yeah. And also, I think the two go hand in hand, but what's going on at your college or university and how MUG has helped with it. And so, we tie in what we're doing on a larger scale with what we're doing here.
Great. Yeah, it's exciting.
So Gail, we've got Moodle 2.2 and Mahara 1.5 integrated into Moodle. So if you need some feedback on your setup or things like that, just let us know.
Oh, that would be fantastic to see what you're doing. I'd love to hear about that. We've just upgraded to Moodle 2.3, and the Mahara upgrade is coming in the next few weeks. So if we could share, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we could either arrange a visit, or we could probably do a screen share kind of session between the campuses.
Oh, that'd be great. Let's talk.
Okay, so this is definitely a conversation that could be ongoing, but perhaps maybe if anyone's interested, we could just put that information on our Facebook, maybe what we're doing at our colleges and maybe topics of interest for the sake of writing or publishing something. And I think maybe Facebook would be a good spot for that. The last topic here is just, I think this came up in Boston as well. Maybe we have some nearsightedness with what we're doing as far as Mahara users. I know others have said, yay, I feel like a cheerleader for Mahara, and it's true, and it's so easy to get stuck in that. But personally, I have no exposure to other ePortfolio tools, and it would be good to know what we're missing out on. So how do we search our counterparts in other ePortfolio groups and perhaps invite them in for some discussions for the sake of knowing what's going on in the larger ePortfolio community with other tools and other user groups. So any thoughts on that?
Well, maybe the connection with LaGuardia's ePortfolio learning community, Connect to Learn, would be a good place to start. I can talk to Brett Einen about it if you're interested.
Yeah, Able Podcast, that's a great suggestion too, Don. Thanks. Okay. Well, maybe we can ask around a little bit too, and just see if anyone from other user groups may want to join us next time, or anyone else who may work with another tool. I'll certainly do that too. I think it would be beneficial for us all. I know for me, just to hear what other groups are doing. What are some what's good codes or good objects that are going on in other pages and so forth. And I know that's research I could do on my own as well, but maybe some people could share that with the larger community. So something to think about. Okay, and maybe we should move on to the next section here, which is reports and assessment.
Thanks, Garrett. And it sounds like we're already starting to talk about some of these topics. They do all go together. And this has been something we've been grappling with for a while, and I'm sure you are too. We just upgraded to version 1.5 in August, and are pleased to see that there are now some site statistics available in Mahara. And I don't know from the group that we have here kind of what version everybody's on. And I'd be curious to hear, maybe through the chat or through the mic too, to hear from other folks how they are handling, I mean, there's two pieces here, but just to start with the reporting, how they are handling reporting in terms of usage, and if anyone's trying to do any connection between usage and student success and satisfaction and retention. We're trying to build some sort of model, internally here at PACE, but this is going to take a lot of programmer commitment, and again, this is another perfect case of a mug topic where if we can combine resources or just ideas of any kind, if anyone has such a model already in place, we'd love to learn about it. To help guide this conversation, I could show, through a screen share, I could show the site statistics area that we now have access to, if that would be helpful. I guess I'm just not sure where everybody is in terms of that work at their own institutions. If people have been able to gather the kind of reporting that they need from Mahara, and or are building structures to do that, or doing it manually. I'd just be interested to hear from the group.
Yeah, I would be interested, Beth, to see what you're doing.
Okay, well, I can show you. I guess not so much what. Well, if I can share my screen now. Is that okay, Keith?
That's fine.
And do you all see a site statistics area?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, so this is new to us since just as of the end of August. So we're just really trying to better understand what's available here. It gives us some numbers that look interesting and impressive based on usage in just a few weeks, organized by users, groups, and pages. But really, when we drill down, this user's number looks very high, but of course this is representing people who have accounts, which is an inflated number compared to people that are actually using ePortfolios. So we really need to look at these numbers more: active users and active groups and pages. But this really, while this is great that it's here, it's really got to be part of a larger project, as I mentioned, to kind of be able to put this together. And maybe this is what Gail was referring to, that after, maybe after working on ePortfolios at Pratt for this coming year, to be able to document kind of the impact that it's had. And so, although this gives me a starting point, I'm pleased that it's here, which is better than what we had in 1.2, which was nothing. I still feel like we need a ways to go here to be able to show that this is having a positive impact on student learning, retention, motivation, a whole slew of things. But I can just click around here so you can, those of you that don't have access to this, can kind of see the information that is included in the 1.5 version, to be able to look at the number of groups, the types of groups, and then to be able to drill down and look at pages. Has anyone worked with this information yet at your institution, either as is or as part of a larger reporting assessment project?
I'm looking at it just right now, Beth, actually, having not really looked at it in much detail yet. Since we're hosting some portfolio projects for Empire State, we're actually seeing some interesting growth in pages and users over the last couple of months. So something we'll be taking a look at.
Mm-hmm. Comments from anyone else? I'm sorry, because this is taking over my screen, I'm not really seeing if anyone's putting anything in the chat box. I'm afraid to close this up because I don't know if anyone else has.
Well, I would love to see how we can get to those kind of analytics right from the beginning here at Pratt.
Yeah, if you're at if you have administrative access, then when you log into Mahara, I can kind of take you back to the beginning.
Well, we're not there yet because we haven't upgraded our Mahara. It's coming in the next few weeks, so I'm probably going to email you and ask you when we get it together, because I'd like to start with this. This looks like if I begin with the analytics and start tracking what's going on, I think we'll really have a good basis to write something up in a year.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's certainly the first question that we always get. Well, how many people are using it, and to what degree are they using it? But very quickly after that, the deeper questions come. So what difference is it having? And so that's the part that, we're still trying to grapple with, how we can show that there is a difference.
Yeah, and some of that's got to be anecdotal on the part of the students and the faculty, but you could probably track, trends. Like we tried doing X, Y, and Z, and then this changed some of our response, our numbers.
With Moodle, we've got the built-in reports from Moodle, but also have Google Analytics. And the new versions of Moodle make it very easy to add Google Analytics. I wonder if Mahara is thinking about also making it easy to tie in Google Analytics.
Yeah, I did some work with Google Analytics with Mahara last year, but I found it somewhat limiting because I wasn't able to drill down to the individual student e-portfolio page.
Okay.
It gave me a snapshot of overall e-portfolio use, peaks, trends as a whole, but I wasn't able to get a sense of individual e-portfolios when they were trending or popular, that sort of thing. But it's something else that we can continue to explore. I know we're getting a little short on time. So maybe, again, this could be another topic that we can continue to discuss through Facebook and Mahara and work on a small group if there's an interest.
Well, I'd be interested in working on it in a group.
Okay, that would be great. Maybe I'll reach out through Facebook and see if we have others, even not attending today, that would like to coordinate online through email or perhaps another online meeting to get some ideas going.
Is there a place on this Adobe Connect to put our emails so people can reach us?
You can just type it into the chat, Gail, and we'll share the chat.
Okay, keeping in mind our time, maybe we should move on to the next topic with Linda. Linda, did we lose you? Okay, maybe Linda stepped away for a minute. If she did, maybe we should jump over to Ellen. Plug-in ideas?
Actually, I'm glad to see that Don is here because maybe he can talk about some of the work that Gregor's been doing on the survey plugin.
Can people hear me?
Yes.
Ah, great. Okay, great. Yeah, that's part of the reason I guess I piped in from Winnipeg here. I haven't done much in the last few weeks on this. but I have a sandbox Mahara set up with the survey plugin that Gregor has developed as basically ready to play with. So possibly if you want to give me your emails, I can give you a login to the server. Probably I would give everybody admin access. Likely I can't give you admin access to the server, but hopefully that shouldn't be necessary. So whoever is interested in doing the survey module, which is essentially taking them, just for review, taking the My Learning module that Gregor developed, where you answer questions and you publish these graphical results. He's taken that and made it more generic, so you can put in your own questions and have some control over how those results are published or graphed. I have a number of ways I'd love to use this, mostly for user self-assessment. But if folks want to join in on this, it'd be welcome. As I say, I haven't really looked at it in detail for the last 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm not as prepared as I would have wanted to be. But it's something I very much want to be able to use in the next 2 or 3 months. I've got Ellen's, and is that Christian? That's you're asking for it? Okay. And Martina, was that you also? Okay, great. So I will open a place to paste this stuff. And now, essentially, just so you know, it's pretty raw in terms of XML. You have to be able to parse XML. So it would be good to have somebody who knows that stuff. And the object here is to come up with a little manual for here's how you take it, and here are some templates, and you can reconfigure them. This one looks like this, and you can just tweak it to make it look like what you want. Okay, well that's basically it. I'll put mine in here too. Actually, what keeps on happening to the chat window? Oh, there it is. I'll just put mine in here, and if I've missed anybody, by all means, give me a call, or sorry, give me an email, and I'll include you as well.
Don, I was wondering if you could take just a couple of minutes to talk more about how you do see using the survey for some of the learning assessments or self-assessments.
Well, a couple of ways. Our portfolio is set up around what we call the essential skills, and those are 9 skills that you can take from job to job in different kind of capacities, and it's kind of based on literacy and numeracy, but moves on through things like communication skills and digital skills as well. And what we do is we ask people to rate themselves. So if they were to rate themselves between 1 to 5 in those 9 skills, you could see a bar graph or something coming out of that. So the person, you would see bars going out in whatever color, and you could maybe get them to do that at the beginning and at the end, right, and then they could bring both artifacts out. So that's one. The other one actually is a little simpler, which would be just very simply doing something with radio buttons and just publishing that, and just having that, because right now there's no elegant way of doing that in Mahara. There may end up being, with the Google Apps thing, getting a little better integrated over the next version or two, but just having something simple like that, where you know, on 1 to 10, I feel I'm here. You know, I agree this much, or I feel I'm this much in a particular attribute. Right. So it's pretty simple stuff. Gregor himself is also working on what he's calling a wizard. Ellen Marie and I were talking about this a little bit in Boston. He's apparently working on kind of like a multi-step thing where you ask a few questions, and the the information gets stored and then published on a particular page that's customized for you. That sounds pretty interesting too. This is a lot simpler.
Good.
Don, is the survey tool based off of the My Learning plugin? Is it going to work similar to that?
That's my understanding. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. He's taken some questions I gave him around essential skills and tried to plug them in. But as I say, I think I need help from somebody who knows XML a little more than I do to just poke through it a bit. And there's somebody who's doing some customization of Moodle for me right now that I'm hoping to sort of help me through that. But that's my understanding. It's essentially you answer a question. As you know, My Learning, one of them is you answer pop-up questions, and the other one is just checkboxes. And based on that, you generate these graphs. This, I think, would be similar. You're answering something specific, and based on that, based on the numbers generated by that, he's really focused on generating graphs. And one of the things that held him back was the library he was using for graphing. It turned out not to be open source, but apparently that's been resolved.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Don. That was really interesting, and I'll definitely want to follow up with you too on that. I think we're
No problem.
slowly running out of time, so I just want to maybe try to wrap up a couple of our last items here. I agree with Linda that let's focus on Mahara assignments next time. I think there's a group of people who I think are including me, who are interested in developing some pedagogical work through MUG. And so let's plan on having that for our next meeting. And I just threw out the opportunity, if any of you happen to be attending any of the fall conferences in the area. We started out as a somewhat regional group, and now we're so glad to be part of an international group. But if any of you happen to be attending Sloan in Florida next week, or EDUCAUSE in Denver in early November, I will be at both conferences, and I'd like to, at all of these conferences, including ABLE, start creating some opportunities, perhaps a MUG lunch table that we can, like we did in Boston, where we can get together, or colleagues from our institutions can get together, even if it's not exactly this group, so we can stay connected in person if the opportunity presents itself. So, oh great, Ellen will be there. So if any of the rest of you will be, or people from your schools, let me or Ellen know, and we'll try to create an opportunity, a time and place where we can get together. And keeping with our schedule that we had last year, I think we'll plan for our next meeting to be in January. And what we'd like is to have the topics really come from the group. So I guess we'll continue to use our two sources of the Mahara.org and Facebook to generate ideas similar to this. We'd like to hear from some of our new people here as well. If you want to stay in the chat and kind of add topics here or continue our discussions through those other venues, we'd like to develop topics that are interesting to all. So does anyone have anything else to add before we wrap up?
No, just thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thanks for giving up your time. I know everyone is very busy. We're really glad to be working with all of you, and hope everyone has a good rest of the week. We'll stay on for a few minutes here just in case folks want to post any other questions. And Keith, you'll make the recording available?
Yeah, I'll make the recording available. I will stop it now. And